Here's the real objection when you talk about creating content with a business that doesn't create content. The number one thing I hear from a business owner is, what would I even talk about? And that question is exactly why most businesses never start. And that costs them a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of clients. My name is Khristian Lee. I am CEO of Follow Up Media, a full-service creative agency and production powerhouse. We also own and operate 3 studio locations around Atlanta, Georgia, that serve our clients' needs for podcast content, video series, and any other content that an individual or business would need to make. This new series we're calling The Content Machine. This is where we're going to break down how modern brands actually grow. And that kind of universal excuse, what would I talk about, is not really a content problem, it's a clarity problem. Because every business already has the content. They just don't recognize it yet. And that's the most important thing. So I'm going to break down some real industries and give you some examples, because you're going to see an underlying theme, and kind of the principles are just exactly the same. It doesn't really matter what industry or business or you do. You have your own unique perspective on how you do what it is you do. And you all will pretty much start and go through the same content topics that are just focused in a different industry, right? So if you're a real estate agent, what would you talk about? How long have you been in real estate? What brought you into real estate? What mistakes do buyers make? More importantly, or as equal, what mistakes do sellers make? What's happening in your local market right now? How do you stage a home? And what actually gets a house sold faster? That's not content creation. That's your daily conversations. Another example, if you're a financial advisor, what do you talk about? What should people be saving right now? What are people doing wrong with investing? How do you protect wealth? And how should people think about risk? What's happening in your market right now? You're already explaining this shit every day. You're just not recording it and having it used and multiply and compound to get you any results other than that one person that's in front of you, or on the phone, or in an email. If you run IT or tech support, what do you talk about? Cybersecurity risks? Common mistakes businesses make? What will slow your systems down? Let me guess, how to protect data? What companies should be doing right now? That's content. That's authority. If you're in the service business, like home services, roofing, construction, whatever, what do you talk about? What should people look for? What would you consider red flags, right? What costs more than it should? What should people fix before it becomes a real big financial problem? You already know more than your customer. That's the content. Attorneys, professional services, what do you talk about? What mistakes do people make before calling you? What should they know before hiring someone? What actually matters in a case? You're already educating people, but you're only doing it one at a time. Work smarter, not harder. Here's the breakthrough and the realization that changes everything. You don't need more ideas. You just need to structure the ones you've got. And here's your content roadmap. This is huge. If you don't know what to talk about, start here. Episode 1, who you are. And when I say episode, that doesn't mean you have to do a podcast. It could be a video series, whatever you want to label it. Episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. First recording, who you are, your background, your experience, and your point of view. 2, go into your process, how you actually do what you do, right? This will differentiate you from competitors. Episode 3, common mistakes your customers make. Probably could spend an hour and a half talking about that. Episode 4, what they should be doing instead. And episode 5, what is happening in your industry right now. That is a month of content easy. And it may be 15, 20 minutes an episode. If you go even deeper on each episode, you'll get twice as much content. And this is how you shift into a system. And now is where most people mess this up. They think this means they need to create content every day. No, you don't. You need to record once. 1 hour of recording should create your entire week. It's one conversation, one topic in one direction, and that will become everything. And this is where the machine comes in. That 1 hour turns into a full podcast, a YouTube video, 10 clips, social posts, SEO content, an email. You don't need more ideas. You just need to multiply what you already know and put it to work. And here's the real reason why people still don't start. It's not time. It's not ideas. It's mainly hesitation. They don't think they sound good enough. They don't think they look good enough on camera. Everybody, well, most people, don't like the way they sound and don't like watching themselves on camera. Not a big deal. You probably don't see you the way most of the world sees you. They don't think they're ready and they don't think anybody cares. Well, if you don't think anybody cares about what you say, then you're probably right, because if you don't have the confidence in what you're doing to think that what you bring to the table is important, then you're right. Probably stay off the fucking camera. The market doesn't reward perfection, but it will reward presence consistently. And here's the deal. At Follow Up Media, we don't create content out of thin air. We extract what our clients already know and turn it into a system. So instead of guessing every day, we help them build something that works every week. And so the final truth here is you already know what to say. You just haven't structured it yet. And once you do, you don't run out of content. You build a fucking machine. And that's going to wrap it for today. But thank you again. If you want, subscribe to the channel, please. We're available on all podcasting platforms. If you subscribe on YouTube, hit the notify button so you'll get notified when we drop new content. Any of our links are in the episode description below, so you can always check that out. And just hit us up at followupmedia.com. You got a comment, leave it, I'll answer it. Do yourself a favor, create some fucking content. Thank you again. What would I even talk about is the objection I get when talking to businesses about creating content. And here's the deal. You don't need ideas, you just need structure. Why do most businesses say that they're bad at content? They're not. They just haven't organized what they already know. You are already explaining the stuff every day, over and over. Just hit record. If you're a business owner, you already have months of content. You just haven't captured it. Hit that record button, and there you go. Business owners don't need to create content. They just need to document their expertise. That's the difference. No one's going to ask you to talk about something you're not already an expert about. If you're a real estate agent and you don't know what to post, here's your entire content plan. Talk about how long you've been in the business, why you got in it. Talk about the mistakes that buyers make, the mistakes that sellers make. Break down what's actually happening in your market right now and explain how staging works and what actually will help sell a house. You're already having these conversations every single day. Once again, you're just not recording them. If you're a financial advisor, your content is already built. You're just not using it. Every day you're explaining how to save, how to invest, how to manage risk, how to protect wealth. You're talking about market conditions and what people should be doing differently. That's not new content. That is your authority, your experience, and your expertise. And expertise is what builds authority. If you're in IT or tech and think you don't have content, I gotta tell you, you're sitting on a fucking gold mine. You could talk about cybersecurity risks, I'm sure, day and night. Common mistakes companies make, how they could have protected their data, what slows systems down, blah, 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 blah. These are things your customers don't understand, but need to. That gap is where your authority comes from. And if you're in the service business, you're in roofing, construction, or home services, your content is so freaking obvious. Talk about what homeowners should look for. Talk about some red flags. Talk about what costs more than it probably should. And talk about what people ignore until it's going to cost them a hell of a lot more money. You already know what matters. You just haven't turned it into content that works for you yet. And here's the roadmap. If you don't know what to post, here's your first 5 episodes, okay? It could be episodes of a podcast, could be a video series, it doesn't matter. Episode 1, who you are. Episode 2, how you work. Episode 3, common mistakes people make when engaging with experts like yourself in that industry. Episode 4, what people should do instead. Episode 5, what's happening in that industry right now. That is an entire first month of content, and you're not guessing anymore. Here's the biggest problem with businesses when it comes to content. What would I even talk about? That is not a content problem. It is overall a clarity problem, because every business already has the content. If you're a real estate agent, you're explaining the market every day. If you're a financial advisor, you're explaining investing every day. And if you're in IT, you are explaining systems every single day. You already are doing the work. You're just not capturing it. And once you start capturing it, you will never run out of content again. And here is the system shift. The biggest mistakes businesses make with content is this. They're trying to create something new every day. They wake up and ask, what should we post? That's not a strategy. That's survival mode. Instead, you should record once, a focused conversation with one topic, one message, one direction, and then multiply it. That's how you turn content into a system. And here is the content machine. 1 hour of content should create your entire freaking week. One recording becomes a podcast. That podcast becomes a YouTube video. That video becomes 10 clips. Those clips become social posts. That content feeds your website, your SEO, and many other things. Could be newsletter, emails, whatever. That is not content creation. That's a content machine.